Okay, welcome to this Friday night edition of the Here's the Deal podcast. Now we'll just call it a live stream. We're not official enough to be calling it a podcast. Appreciate you guys spending at least part of your Friday night with me. I do want to get moving. Okay, welcome to this Friday night edition of the Here's the Deal. Why do I keep forgetting that? I need to straighten up and fly right. Tonight we were talking about Craig Henry and his charge of felony stalking a public official in Vermilion County, Indiana. I want to watch some of this, but I already know that Harvey Freebird did a great job on it. I think Chili covered it. James Freeman has covered this. So a lot of you people already know what happened with Craig, and I want to weigh in on it maybe from a slightly different perspective, although I don't think it's that different. It's not that big of a departure, but when I look at this stuff, I try to look at it on the macro and the micro level. And on the macro and micro level, government agents are trying to set criminal precedents always. They're trying to set criminal precedents against us, and then they get the unthinking masses to applaud that criminalization and our demise while they unwittingly usher in their own. And that is to say, what's happening to Craig is going to happen to us one day unless we put a stop to it. If it's true, and I always leave, the benefit of the doubt on one side of the equation or the other, because I don't know all the facts about the entire thing, and there could be things that I've missed. But if it is true that all Craig was doing is acting as a journalist trying to gather content for a story, and I know that gets old for people, but that is really what it is. We are recording public places and public officials to make sure that they are acting as public servants, and we're gathering content for any kind of story that we might write. And the people who the camera has been turned on are the authors of the story. There's no script when you walk in. You're just walking in with a video camera. You're not telling people how to act, but then they act out. And then people who are these troll channels start saying, well, you knew what would happen. Well, not really. What's likely to happen if somebody has an authoritarian mindset and they're bent on just ordering people around, what's likely to happen is that they'll act out. They'll act like public masters instead of the public servants they're supposed to be. But you didn't write the script. You're not responsible for how they act. So if they act in a criminal way, if they start acting like masters and overlords instead of public servants, then they are the ones who wrote their own script. They're the ones who directed their own film. They're the ones who played it out before the world's eyes on what they actually are and how they actually think about the public. And you're just gathering the information. They're feeding you the information. You're not threatening anybody or coercing anybody into acting a certain way. Now there may be some provocateurs. There may be some people who are provoking other people to wrath. But for the most part, I've just seen people walk in. All it takes is walking into a post office or walking into a library or a federal building to just set people off. And you've only introduced one more video camera among the dozens that are already on you on the ceilings, on the walls. You just walked in from the outside where they have traffic cameras recording everything. They've got drones in the skies. The Google car is all over the place. Incidentally, I was in a town the other day. It was Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the Google car, I saw them just going down every single road. Me and Trish are going to be on it. Our faces will be on it unless they blur. No, I think they blur the faces if you're in a vehicle, but they passed by us like 4 times. No, it was 3 times. I said all that to say there's cameras everywhere. And when you add one more, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was it, man. I'm sick of being recorded, and now you're going to be the brunt of my ire. Yeah, well, I don't think so. So let me just say this again before I roll this. Government agents try to set criminal precedents against us and get the unthinking masses to applaud our demise while they unwittingly usher in their own demise and their own destruction. It's like politics. It's the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering in order to dupe average people like you and me into accepting and even demanding the chains of our own enslavement. So when a Craig Henry gets put in jail for felony stalking of a public official, well, if the mainstream media doesn't cover it, then they can be prosecuted for felony stalking if they decide to go out in front of a cop's house or a judge's house and report on a story. You're stalking me. No, I'm just reporting on a story. Which leads us, before I get into this video, the Indiana Criminal Code actually defines stalking. It says, as used in this chapter, stalk means a knowing or an intentional course of conduct involving repeated or continued harassment of another that would cause a reasonable person. The problem with these definitions and these terms is that they're kind of open to interpretation. Well, what you might consider reasonable, 10 other people might consider highly unreasonable. To cause a reasonable person to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, or threatened, and that usually causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, or threatened. And then it says the term does not include statutory or constitutionally protected activity like recording in public. So if it's true that all Craig was doing was recording in public, then anybody who records in public can rightly be prosecuted by a lawyer or by a court for felony stalking. And that just cannot be true. It cannot be tolerated. It can't be tolerated for Craig, and it can't be tolerated for you. You wouldn't want that happening to you if you were trying to record for whatever reason. You were trying to collect information. What are they going to? So now when you're recording cops, are they going to try to use this? Are they going to try to hammer out a case law right here? I don't see it going anywhere, but it could. There's a lot of cases that you wouldn't think would go anywhere, but now here we are with Terry v. Ohio, Pennsylvania versus Mims. That went somewhere, didn't it? Now, because a cop fears for his life, he can order you out of the car. And if you don't, that's an arrestable offense, according to the Supreme Court. Who'd ever thought that would go anywhere? That's absolutely, decidedly anti-Fourth Amendment. Having the right to be secure in your persons, houses, papers, and effects. That's a direct violation of that, as is Terry v. Ohio and the numerous other laws that they have out there that don't support your constitutional rights. They violate them. So the term does not include statutory or constitutionally protected activity. So here we go with this video right here. If Craig stops by, let me know. By the way, I may open the phone lines. I don't know if the phone number that I'm about to give you will work, but I will try to open the phone lines because people are saying, hey, why don't you do some call-ins, and we'll try to make tonight a call-in. If you guys want tonight to be a call-in, if you think that's a good idea, put a 1 in the room. Thank you, Jersey Bob. Jersey Bob's a member. Thank you for all the members here. Red Pill Rants is a member. Tashanta Spencer. Tashanta Spencer is a member. I am free. Inland Auditing Media has great content and is putting out even better content than he would. I was loving it before. Now it's just absolutely, it's tremendous. It's a beautiful piece of work. The man does a fantastic job. I am free. Inland Auditing Media. Thanks for being a member. If you want to be a member, just Montana Kid's a member. Thank you. So you guys do want to do a call in? Iron Man Metal's a member. Thank you. You have the right to remain silent. Yes, we do. Brooke Cameron is here. Okay, Rune Dragon is here. And I also want to, I want to let you know, okay, we're going to watch this video and then we'll probably do some call-ins. But another thing is I watched some of the troll channels, and they shall remain nameless because, I don't want to give them any kind of press. But I listen to other people who come at it from a different view, because the last thing I want to do, and I'm sure the last thing you want to do, is cement yourself in cognitive dissonance and lock the door and throw away the key to some kind of echo chamber. I don't want to just listen to people who agree with me. I want to understand why people disagree with me. And if they disagree with me on valid reasons, if they're logical, if they're reasonable, if they hold moral weight, then that's something that you want to gravitate toward. That's why you don't want to lock yourself into an echo chamber. Because what if you lock yourself in there with 100 other people who are just as wrong as you, as misguided as you, as directionless as you? You don't want that. So I like to listen to other views on this kind of thing, and I'll let you know what I heard from a particular troll channel about Craig Henry, and then we'll talk about it. Let's listen to some of this.
Child on the way. So I've got a pregnant woman right now, and we're just living life, right? We're just living, and we're just trying to support a family. And these people, because I performed this investigation, which I'm about to show you right now. We're taking that off the screen. We're going to put this on the screen. This investigation is going to land me in jail, because when you expose corruption in America, they will not stand for it. Let's check it out.
Yeah, let's get into the video.
If you sell this property to some developer or something, do you automatically record that to all of a sudden that developer is responsible from then on?
Yes. We give them a deed. They get a deed and it's recorded here.
So there's no building not going on the city property before it's turned over to the developer?
No.
That is the attorney for the city of Clinton in Indiana. And everything you just heard him say was an absolute lie. He is currently being questioned by Vermilion County Commissioner Tim Yoakum.
My question is, has the city had anyone build units on their property before the...
Not that I know of.
The commissioner is asking about these properties. The houses on them were built by contractor Timothy Cottrell, while the city still owned the properties. This allowed the contractor to avoid the cost of such inconveniences as buying the land and paying property taxes, which is probably why Scott Craig is feigning ignorance about them. But he then claims to be knowledgeable about the very area that all this happened on.
That area down around Feather Creek in Clinton, there's a lot of parcels down there, and most people weren't paying their taxes on them because they were worthless parcels of land. So we had a lot concentrated there in that North 6th Street, North 7th Street, North Street area.
Yeah, that almost sounds like an excuse to acquire land on the cheap. I wonder what's really going on there. I mean, it seems like now there are two issues. We've got land that a lot of people considered worthless and they're not paying taxes on it, and those guys moved in on it and maybe graded it to a higher elevation to where it wasn't on the floodplain. But we've got that issue, and then we've got this nepotism issue where this builder was granted some kind of, either written or oral right to build buildings on property without, paying the taxes or whatever. And, getting all kinds of breaks from, I don't know, the higher ups in this community.
Most of those now have either been gone through the tax sale. There's a couple of people who still live down there and they do pay their taxes.
So he is aware of the properties, but at the same time, unaware of them. Now, I'm sure you all are thinking, why does this matter? If government officials are speaking, most often they are lying. As true as this is, this lie affects real people and also shows to an extent the lack of accountability for government officials and their close friends. Let me give you some background. In the early 2000s, a man named Kevin Kiger bought almost a whole 2 blocks of properties with the hope of building a home for himself and his offspring. When Kevin went to the city to get a building permit, he was told by Mayor Jack Guilfoyle and 2 of the mayor's predecessors that he would not be able to get a permit for that land because it is in a flood zone. After Kevin realized that he would not be legally allowed to erect a building on his own property, he judged that the property was worthless to him. As a result...
Well, there you go. And that's why the lawyer said what he said. Because they were trying to get that guy off the property and saying, no, you can't do anything with this. So this guy invested this money already. They said you can't build anything on it because it's in a floodplain. Now they're going to turn around and tell somebody else that they can build on it when they already told this Kevin guy that you couldn't.
Kevin stopped paying property taxes on the now worthless land. The city then took the property from Kevin for delinquent taxes and allowed Timothy Cottrell, a local contractor and friend of the mayor's, to start construction on the same property they just told Kevin he couldn't construct on.
So I would like to see the documentation on that. Or surely this Kevin Kiger guy recorded the interaction, in some way, audio, video, had somebody put it in writing. Because if this place is in a floodplain And then they give this other contractor the right to build buildings on it. And this contractor admits in this news interview that as soon as he built the first one, somebody wanted to buy it. So now that person should be able to sue the city or sue the guy who built the property, knowing it was in a floodplain, for the damages.
Top of that, they let the mayor's friend build while the city still owned the property,
Amazing.
Which allowed the mayor's friend to avoid property taxes and possibly liability, contrary to the lies attorney Scott Craig told at the county commissioners meeting.
If you sell this property to some developer or something, do you automatically record that to all of a sudden that developer is responsible from then on?
Yes. We give them a deed. They get a deed and it's recorded here.
So there's no building not going on the city property before it's turned over to the developer?
No.
Let's get into the evidence. We know the city attorney is lying about there being no building on city property because the property was transferred to Tim Cottrell in 2023, according to the county website.
And where is the local journalist, the local reporter, the local news crew that's exposing all this? I think there was an actual news report on this, but they didn't dig down deep into, there's this Kevin Kiger's name right there. Here's Cottrell Properties. So it looks like it was turned over to, he bought it in 2009. It was turned over in 2018 to City of Clinton redevelopment in 2018. I wonder if they raised the grade. I wonder if, okay, so we're talking about the passage of from 2009 to 2020 of 11 years. I wonder if they graded it up above the floodplain. I wonder what happened there. And then who is responsible for that? Where did the money come from to do that grading, if there was any grading at all? This is interesting. But you would think a local news crew would actually be delving into these records, that get, asking for open records requests and actually exposing this themselves. But here's Craig doing it. So now Craig is acting as legitimate media. He's got a public interest story that everybody in the public in that area and really around the world would be interested in. So he has every right to go into a public place, not only because he has the First Amendment right to do it, because, you can record anywhere in any public place, no matter what people say, but now he's got a public interest story. Now the public is interested for him to go in there with the camera and start asking questions. Just like the public would be rightly interested in having a local regular news crew going in there and extracting information from public servants.
But Google satellite images from mid-2022 show that 12 properties were already constructed there. In addition to this evidence...
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't know if it's just all on this side or if it includes this right here. I don't know.
The local news also ran a story about these very properties, in which Timothy Cottrell makes some pretty revealing statements about these properties. Let's watch.
New housing is coming to a spot in Clinton that sat empty for nearly a decade. The floodplain by North 6th Street now has 12 homes with many young families living in them.
Houston's Blake Dahlia tells us how this project came together and how it'll help the small town.
Patrice Rondrell, a local business owner, and Mayor Jack Guilfoyle have one thing in common. They both say they want to see more young people live and work in Clinton. Now that business owner has laid the groundwork to help make that dream a reality.
They both say they want to do good for the community. They want younger people moving in there. That equals ka-ching, ka-ching. This guy right here from Cottrell Properties and Jack, what's his name? The mayor wants to make a bunch of money by putting houses up in a floodplain after they told another guy that he couldn't do it.
If you know Tim Cottrell, you know he's either working on roofs or building homes. He says he loves the city of Clinton, but a conversation with his daughter about the city had him concerned.
Well, it started with a comment from my daughter, kind of a negative comment about the city, and that struck me because that's our hometown, and I didn't want her to feel like it's a bad area.
Mayor Jack Guilfoyle says a lot of younger people are leaving the city, but says Cottrell is helping bring some back. He's invested in building 12 houses on a floodplain near North 6th Street. He's building them to be flood proof.
I've been on a mission for several years to improve Clinton as much as I can. I try to get I try to take the worst houses in town and then either tear them down and build something new or rehab them if I can.
That dream of making his city better came with a pretty hefty price tag.
Yeah, I don't know who else would want to sink $1 million into flood zone in Clinton, and that's about what it ended up costing. And I don't have $1 million, but you know, I found a way. I found a way to make it happen.
He did not have $1 million, but he found a way. Perhaps some of the money he used came from the city of Clinton, as the city did admit to reallocating almost $250,000 from a project in the town to the same area that Cottrell built his housing on. Also, when the
That's interesting. I didn't have the money to do it, but I found a way.
properties were belatedly transferred over to Cottrell, the clerk treasurer of the city, Lori Kersey, appears to have never signed her name on the quitclaim deed that I have been shown, supposedly showing that she did not support these questionable acts within her own city government.
You got to admit, that is unusual for a city treasurer to leave her name off an official document like this.
I don't know who else would want to sink $1 million into flood zone in Clinton, and that's about what it ended up costing. And I don't have $1 million, but you know, I found a way. I found a way to make it happen.
One thing is certain. Tim Cottrell has never met Kevin Kiger.
Okay, if he's guilty, this is so bizarre to me. If he's guilty, you would think that the last thing that he would want to do is show his face on the news. You would think the last thing that the mayor would want is for him to show his face on the news. You'd think it would just be under wraps. Nobody will ever hear about it. But now it's almost like when he was smiling right there, I was just thinking of Duper's Delight. You know, I was just thinking this guy, I don't know if he's guilty or not. I'm not making any accusations, but this whole thing really, really stinks to high heaven. Somebody said in the comments, I think I smell an error rat, because he called his community right there error rat. I think, isn't Mount Ararat where Noah's Ark supposedly landed?
Who else would want to sink $1 million into flood zone in Clinton? And that's about what it ended up costing. And I don't have $1 million, but you know, I found a way. I found a way to make it happen.
There's that smile.
Tim Cottrell.
You know, I found a way.
There's that smile. I found a way, man. I found a way.
I found a way to make it happen.
One thing is certain. Tim Cottrell has never met Kevin Kiger, the man who originally owned and wanted to build on this property.
Initially, I wasn't sure what kind of demand we would have for them. And as I built, you know, I had to take my time building them. I didn't have the funding to do it all at once. But as I built each one of them, they were rented out before we even finished them. So it really worked out well.
So now, thanks to Cottrell's statement, we know that he was renting out city property and presumably keeping the money for himself, which explains why the county government was asking questions in the first place. What we are asking is how they are allowed to do this to people like Kevin Kiger and get away with it. According to Mayor Jack Guilfoyle,
I wonder how much money Kevin Kiger actually lost in this whole deal. And I wonder why he would buy a property without investigating to see if it was in a floodplain. Because one of the first things you want to do is you want to pull a plat map, and then you want to find a survey, and you want to find out if the property that you're buying so that you can build in the future has, you know, is okay. Everything will be okay. So it's kind of weird. So they're saying it's still in a floodplain, but he's basically making flood-proof houses, putting them on these, you know, elevating the house above the concrete in the garage.
State has already looked into this issue and found no wrongdoing.
Mayor, why have you sold properties to a
High Desert Biker says, zero doubt this guy is ripping people off. I'm a realtor that lives in a flood zone and can tell you this is a common scam. Really? Interesting. Mount Ararat is synonymous with Diablo 2 video game where demons dwell. Wow, my gosh. There you go. None of us is greater than all of us. That is interesting.
private contractor for an average of $1 per property?
Ask Tim, he's asked me that question before, and so see, you both got the answer.
So did the state of Indiana.
Yeah, and they said there was nothing wrong.
No, they didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, it's on tape.
The city attorney
said-
met with Will
The
Barr,
city attorney said he swept it
the
under
city
the rug.
was
The city has never provided any proof that any building permits were ever granted to Tim Cottrell to build in that flood zone. And the person in charge of the permits for the city, Kenneth Weininger, told me that Tim never got permits. What he got was permission. Sure would have been nice for Kevin Kiger, but the reality is that we shouldn't need permission to build on our own property. We definitely shouldn't be paying thugs like these for the right to own property. However, the moral of this story is rules don't apply to the rulers, only the rules.
Some may be asking, who exactly is to blame for this double standard in the city of Clinton? And in my opinion, the answer to that is the mayor, Jack Guilfoyle Jr., and the other local officials that have imposed the rules when it benefits them and overlooked the same rules when their friend is the party in question. As a result of my investigation,
How common do you think this is? I mean, according to High Desert Biker, it happens all the time. He's in the real estate industry, he says. How common is this? Wow. I mean, the scams that go on all the time. And see, under a voluntarist society, you're not going to eliminate all the problems, but one of the major problems that you will eliminate is this idea that people have the right to do what they do, and then they get to be, they're immune from any kind of prosecution because they were a city council member, or they were a DA, or they were a member of law enforcement. We got to get rid of this idea that people, there are a class of people that can do things that the rest of us, if we did the same thing, we'd be in jail. If it's true what's going on, these people should be in jail. And similarly, if this is actually going on, you can kind of see why they wanted to pin a fake felony stalking charge on Craig Henry. Hey, we got to shut this guy up. We got to put him in jail. We at least have to reduce his credibility in the eyes of the public by saying, see, he's got a criminal record. See, he disrespected and disobeyed the judge who tried to impose some kind of probationary sanction on him that he didn't want to do because he wants to give people the message that, hey, we're free people. And we're not going to be bossed around anymore by these narcissistic psychopaths.
Into this city and asking questions to local officials, I have been charged with felony stalking the alleged victim, a woman that works in the mayor's office in real life, but on paper is a utility clerk. Me exposing corruption, asking questions of local officials, and exercising my right to record in public while doing so is not a criminal offense. However, they are attempting to persecute me with felony charges that carry up to 2.5 years in prison. To help me fight back against this tyranny, please donate to either my
So there's his Cash App right there if you want to help him out. And I think it's worth helping him out. Cash App is right there and the PayPal is right there. So I'll just leave this up on the screen for a second. Okay, so the number, if you guys want to call in, get a pen and paper. High Desert Biker says, Brian, this and much worse happens constantly. I could talk for hours about city council, corrupt agents, and money bribes. Okay, I'm gonna give you the number. I hope it works. It worked on my last live stream that I did a call in 2.5 years ago. So I don't know if it's gonna work now, but here's the number. It's 918-410-9174. 918-410-9174. If you want to call in. And if this does work, what I would like to do is I would like to maybe keep the conversations brief so that more people have time to talk. If you feel like and I'll leave it up to the chat room. If you guys feel like somebody's rambling, just put put something in the room to indicate, hey, let's move on to the next person. I wonder if it'll work. It's this Google thing. It goes through a Google switchboard or whatever. I don't know how it works. Let me know if somebody's tried it too. 918, area code 918-410-9174. If you want to call in. Yeah, that is that quote, Patrick. Politics is the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms. Think about it. That's what they do. They use euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering to get you to vote for the chains of your own oppression. Mandatory says, back in the good old days. Oh, man. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I don't have my ringer up. Let's see. Oh, it's not working. What are you guys getting back, Shamil, when you call it? What is it? What does it do? It's not working. What do I have to do? I can't remember how I set up this number in the first place. Okay, this came from Bucky from New York City. Man, pick it up. I can't pick it up. Oh, wait a second. It leaves it's got a number. Okay, somebody. Okay, call that number. Apparently, it's something is working on it. Oh wait, no, it's not. This is from what date is this? Google Voice. Yeah, this just happened at 17:42, which is 2 minutes ago. This is Bucky from New York. Play message.
What's up, Brian? This is Bucky from New York City, man. Pick it up.
Bucky, that's Bacchus Mill. What's up, Bucky? Let's see. All right, so it had a number here, and now the number disappeared. What happened? All right, well, I'm gonna have to figure out how to set this up. Huh. Here's another new one. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to set this up. Anybody know how to quickly set up like a Google number? I'm not giving out my regular number on the internet. That would be disastrous. I don't know how I got this thing to work before. Anybody know how you set up a number? A temporary number? You hear Dakota snoring? Casey said, I hear doggy snoring. Are you snoring? He's snoring with his eyes open. Let's see. Let me read some super chats here. Viewer activity. Bacchus Mill says, Brian, they're giving out plastic cards to migrants. You do know where it's heading, brother. Much love from New York City. Mark Peterson says, you're right. The government only sees us as cattle to tax. I've had mixed opinions watching you, but at the end of the day, I appreciate that. What's up, John Eagle? He says, you emailed me your number a few months ago, and it isn't that. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't want anybody knowing my private number, John. Let's see. It's a well-fed doggy snoring. Mine does it too, says Casey. I was going to take my camera off, but then I'd have to put it back on. I was going to show them to you. All right. Well, and we can cover some more stuff. There's an app called Real Talk that gives you a fake number. Yeah, but how long does it take to set it up? Walmart has to pay as you go phones. Oh, yeah. You can edit the Google Voice number in settings, I think. Oh, really? Okay, let's see. How do we do this? Man, I hate doing this during the live stream. It's just going to take up so much time because I have no idea where to go or what to do. I have to do some research on it. Obviously, I set it up before, so I can set it up again. Okay, listen, guys, listen. Yeah, he's a happy pup. He's a happy pup. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but that Minnesota trooper was charged with the Ricky Cobb shooting. Check this out.
Our top story tonight, a State Patrol trooper has been charged with second-degree murder for this highway shooting that left Ricky Cobb II dead.
Took a while. If it was you or me, boom, you're charged, fingerprinted, booked, in a cage, in a prison cell.
That
You're going to have a high, to bond out. It's going to be just ridiculous.
incident on I-94 happened this past summer on July 31st.
Troopers had pulled Cobb over and demanded he get out of the vehicle at the time. He refused and was shot as he began to drive away. Our Paul Bloom joining us live now to break down the new charges and the reaction tonight. Paul?
Kelsey, Amy, nearly 6 months after this deadly traffic stop encounter here at the courthouse on Wednesday, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office filing multiple charges against the trooper who fired his weapon, Ryan Longigan. Included in those charges, second-degree unintentional murder. A conviction on that count alone could typically send a defendant to prison for between 10 and 15 years, but it is clear tonight Longigan and his legal team are not going down without a fight.
We got the entire thing on video. It's kind of like, oh, you know what? It's like that Las Cruces cop who killed that lady in that apartment complex when she was driving away and posing no threat to him. You've got a clear case of criminality. The man took another man's life as he was driving away. And what's this over? An improperly illuminated license plate. That's how little cops think of your rights and even your life. It's infuriating.
He is charged with second-degree murder, unintentional, first-degree assault, and second-degree manslaughter.
Hennepin County Attorney Mary
Second-degree murder, unintentional. He pulled out his gun and he pointed at a guy. He intended to hurt him in some way.
Moriarty here outlining the charges her office filed Wednesday against Minnesota State Trooper Ryan Longigan. That is Longigan is shouting at Ricky Cobb II while assisting with a traffic stop along I-94 north of downtown early on the morning of July 31st. Cobb was initially pulled over for driving without rear lights when troopers discovered the 33-year-old was wanted for violating an order for protection.
This is a different news story. Driving without rear lights. Last story that I saw, they need to get their story straight and they need to vet them before they go live on the air. But the last one that I saw was an improperly illuminated license plate. And that gives them the justification to open your door and violate your space.
Cobb did not comply with directions to step out of his Ford Fusion. Longigan and a fellow trooper then seen and heard on body camera footage, barking commands and attempting to physically remove Cobb from the vehicle.
Yeah, nothing like scaring a guy. It's like, man, I've seen enough videos to know that my life is in jeopardy. I'm pretty much damned if I do, damned if I don't. So maybe I should just make a run for it. You know, people are like, why didn't you just comply? All you had to do is obey the authority. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that, and it didn't end well for him. Philando Castile was actually following a command to get his concealed carry license out of his wallet, and he got pumped full of lead. Daniel Shaver was trying his best to just obey. James Boyd was just camping out in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, and now he's not with us anymore. Welcome, new member, FJA News. Thank you very much, FJA.
Again, a newer trooper at the time with only about 18 months on the job.
Man, I was really wanting this call-in thing to work because I wanted to get up to speed on some things that are going on in the auditing community.
Fired twice as Cobb took his foot off the brake and appeared to attempt to drive away. Moriarty, whose office did not employ an unaffiliated use of force expert, as it had said it would in making a charging decision, concluded the case came down to training.
They are not allowed to shoot at a car which is driving away. They're not allowed to shoot someone to prevent the car from driving away.
Now, of course, what happens is there's this left versus right paradigm shift, and the people on the right get involved in saying, no, we support the trooper. And the people on the left go, no, he shouldn't have killed that guy. Come on. And people will call you, they will actually label you and put you into a box because you just said something that is in accordance with morality. It's like the guy, first of all, there was really no good reason to pull this guy over. Didn't have a license plate illuminated. Give me a frickin' break. What is wrong with you people? And there's 3 cops that arrive on the scene and they're all looking aggressive and opening the door and threatening this guy. And this guy's freaking out and he doesn't know what to do. And they've got guns. They've got this authoritarian mentality where they can pretty much do whatever they want to, and they'll more than likely get away with it. But then you have the right-leaning people that go, no, we need to give cops more power. It's just a landscape of idiocy.
The car from driving away.
This county attorney has provided sweetheart deals to murderers and kidnappers, and now today she charges a hero.
Trooper Longigan's legal.
See, there you go. There you go. Now, it's not good to give, kidnappers and other criminals, any kind of leeway. So I'm not for that at all. It sounds like she just needs to be replaced because she's not making good decisions. And when she does make decisions, they're not based on they're not based on any kind of ethics, and they're certainly not in agreement with natural law, and they're not consistent. If you're going to apply the law, you got to apply it consistently.
The team quickly responded, filing a motion to dismiss the case immediately. They argue the use of deadly force was justified to protect Longigan and his colleague from the threat of death or great bodily harm.
They're the ones that messed with him. See, that's what I don't get. It's like, no, we had to protect our officers. Yeah, but who drew first blood? Like that First Blood movie, you drew first blood. Matter of fact, I want to watch Rambo again because that is the perfect example of a guy who's just a peaceful man, trying to make his way through town, just wants to be left alone, doesn't want to be messed with, and the cops just can't leave him alone. They just keep pushing him until all of a sudden he strikes back, and now all of a sudden he's the criminal when they're the ones that started it.
Specifically, the potential the troopers could have been dragged on the freeway, according to Imran Ali, general counsel for the Minnesota Police. And
if you don't want to be dragged on the freeway, maybe it'd be a good idea not to open somebody's door and freak them out and start threatening them.
Police Officers Association.
Look, this is a dynamic situation that unfolded on a highway where there is a risk to other people, including the troopers.
You see a good traffic stop.
I see a good traffic stop.
It's a good traffic stop. Yeah, it's a good day anytime we can launch some fast cruising projectiles into the body of a person who didn't threaten anybody. Yeah, well, if you're interested in highway safety, public safety, traffic safety, might not be a good idea to start pulling the trigger in the direction of somebody who might be coming down the highway.
Meantime, as you can see in this video here, Ricky Cobb's loved ones were here at the courthouse on Wednesday, meeting with prosecutors. They ended up leaving without speaking to the gathered media and saying anything on camera. We do expect to hear from them right back here tomorrow morning around 11 o'clock. As for Trooper Longigan, he does remain on paid administrative leave with the State Patrol. He will be due here for his first court appearance.
Here's him appearing in court.
Thanks for joining us. Just a few hours ago, the Minnesota State Trooper who shot and killed Ricky Cobb appeared in court for the first time since charges were filed against him. Trooper Ryan Londergan is charged with murder, manslaughter, and assault for the incident that happened during a traffic stop on I-94 last summer.
Lou Raguse was in the courtroom today and joins us now with the latest. Lou?
Lauren and Julie, today's court hearing was routine, but the public-facing strategy being used by Trooper Ryan Londergan's attorney is far different than in previous officer-involved shooting cases.
Yeah, I'm sorry to, if I painted with too broad a brush, I apologize, Norman. Norman says, I'm right-wing. I want qualified immunity to end. Terry v. Ohio overturned and cops held accountable for their crimes. So, there's so many, yeah, sometimes I can lack nuance. So I appreciate you saying that, Norman. I apologize if I use such a wide stroke like that.
Is in Minnesota. Outside the Hennepin County Public Safety Facility, dozens of current and former police officers stood to show support for Ryan Londergan, the Minnesota State Patrol trooper now charged with second-degree murder in the death of Ricky Cobb. Londergan will remain free.
Shame on you, Moriarty. Shame on you for holding this guy to account for ending a man's life.
While he awaits trial.
Here goes some thin blue line boot munchers, leather munchers.
Leave the court appearance without bail or being booked into jail. And Londergan's attorney, Chris Maddle, made a statement directed at Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty.
So on September 19...
yeah, Moriarty is Moriarty leftist? I can only imagine she is. I hate that I even said that word, but how else are you going to describe him?
On 2023...
Northeast Colorado Cop Block, welcome. Thanks for being a member, man.
The county attorney started this case by saying that they had retained a use of force expert. and that use of force expert was critical with respect to the charging decision.
Maddle is referring to the initial statement issued by Moriarty when her office began reviewing the case.
Driving away.
And last week we found that Trooper Ryan Londrigan was charged. They didn't use a use of force expert. Here's a bunch of use of force experts. Okay. All she needs to do is email me and I'll hook her up with one.
Maddle has already waged a more aggressive defense in the public realm than other attorneys in Minnesota's officer-involved cases. He filed with the court a number of social media posts by activists sharing Trooper Londrigan's address and planning protests outside his house, and a video of a car he says was photographing the trooper's home, not to mention posts wishing Londrigan would die. Cobb's family attended the court hearing. They didn't speak, but released a statement from a use of force expert who's not affiliated with the case, opining on the body camera video. Dr. Jeffrey Alpert wrote, "The video can be used as an example of what a police officer should not do. And if the officers had followed protocol and accepted police practices, it is likely that Ricky Cobb II would be alive today."
Londrigan will be back in court on April 29th. His side indicated that they were worried for his safety, but there were no confrontations or incidents at court today. Lauren.
I mean, think about this. A man died during a traffic stop. They weren't pulling him over because he just robbed a bank or shot up a school or jeopardized people's lives in a post office. It was lights in the back of his vehicle and he's dead. Why shouldn't the guy who was wearing the clown suit go to jail? It's clearly, you don't need a use of force expert. You don't need anything like that. You see what happened. The guy just was trying to drive away to get rid of leaving the dust, the aggressors. The aggressors happened to be wearing clown suits, which in the eyes of the public, it's like, you don't run from the cops, man. That's the absolute wrong thing to do. Well, yeah, probably. It's probably not the wisest thing to do, but should I stay or should I go? Well, if I stay, I could die. If I go, I could die. They won't let up. And to fire gunshots into a car when a guy is just driving away, you already got his license plate number. You know who he is. You can go to his house. But then the SWAT team will probably end him and his family. It's just, it's such a crazy world we live in. Here's this Las Cruces police officer who was finally charged with second-degree murder after, what?
This case has secured a lot of attention statewide and nationwide, and it has garnered a lot of outrage.
That case that has been getting so much attention took a new turn today. A Las Cruces police officer is now facing second-degree murder charges, and it's because of what you are seeing right now.
I apologize if I offended any real professional clowns out there. It's not my intent. Kind of like when you call a cop a pig, it's like, stop offending pigs.
Now, in his body camera video from back in October, an encounter with a woman that eventually turned deadly. Trevor Thompson is the newest member of our KOB4 team. And Trevor, you were working at an El Paso station covering the Las Cruces area when this happened. So a task force ultimately concluded deadly force was absolutely unnecessary in this case.
Tessa, so we've been following this case, wondering first and foremost if any charges would come down, and then also how long this entire process could actually take. 3 months, though, after that shooting, we finally have some answers. We do want to warn you, though, some of this video is very graphic.
You're trespassing.
Flying Grandpa just became a member. Thank you, Flying Grandpa. Thank you to everybody who's a member. I appreciate you supporting the channel. It means a lot.
I'm not. Yes, you are.
It began in Las Cruces about 4 a.m. October 3rd of last year. Las Cruces police officer Felipe Hernandez approaches Teresa Gomez and says she is trespassing outside a housing complex. The interaction quickly escalates.
When I ask you to do something, you gotta step out.
Body cam video obtained by KTSM in El Paso shows about 8 minutes of interaction. Gomez eventually decides to drive away. Then the officer shoots, ultimately killing Gomez.
All right, I'm not going to play this because I think they actually do the gunshots, but he pulls out his weapon and he just keeps on firing at her. And it's so ridiculous, man. She's just trying to get away, but he won't have it. I don't understand. I mean, man, can you imagine even pointing a gun at somebody, let alone pulling the trigger? Can you imagine that? Paulie Polly Glocks became a member. Thank you very much, Polly. I can't even... It would be the last thing you would think about unless somebody was harming you or your family or doing something evil to somebody else and you had no other recourse. It's the absolute last thing you would think about doing if you're a normal person. Now, if you're an authoritarian psychopath and you have to have your way and it's got to be now, it's got to be my way and it's got to be immediately, well, now you've got a different framework to work with. You've got a different mentality that's on the table. Ah, shoot.
3 months later, the Doñana County
Man, I thought I skipped over that. It's just it was on a news thing though.
DA
It
announced
was on a news deal.
second-degree murder charges against Hernandez after reviewing a report from a task force investigating that shooting. Hernandez turned himself in the same day.
His ability to manage protocol.
I hate that I played that.
Call was non-existent. His interactions with her, just on a human level, was exceptionally subpar.
Exceptionally subpar. Let's just call it what it was. It was downright evil. It was idiotic. Nobody was pulling a gun on him. Nobody was threatening his life. All he had to do was walk away.
DA says Officer Hernandez was not in danger when Gomez drove away.
Felipe Hernandez was not met with deadly force, and Ms. Teresa Gomez was not a fleeing felon because she did not present a danger to Officer Hernandez or anyone else. There was no necessity for him to use...
No, I am going to censor myself on this platform. I will do it because I've already lost the potential to reach out to millions of people on my other 4 channels that got taken down because I violated terms of service. I'm not going to do it again. Not doing it. If you know what the framework is, you know what the thing is. He pointed the personal protection device at the person and dislodged some fast moving projectiles at her. You know what happened. So as far as getting the idea across, I will never, ever censor myself. But as far as, minimizing or mitigating any kind of negative repercussions from that, yeah, it's the wise thing to do. It's so stupid. No, I'm going to put whatever I want to on there. Okay, you won't have a channel tomorrow. Good. Real smart move. Smart move.
Deadly force against Ms. Gomez. We looked at self-defense. There was...
And I want YouTube screeners to understand that this live stream is making commentary on a mainstream media, according to the YouTube, a top shelf authoritative source. So it comes from this source. I'm actually watching YouTube. It's on YouTube.
No self-defense.
It was just last month when KOB4 spoke to the attorney for Gomez's family before any charges were filed. Then she expressed concerns about a slow review process in Las Cruces.
And the fact that the city is so institutionally paralyzed and not reactive or responsive to these wrongful deaths is also an issue that needs to be exposed. She was a daughter of the city. She grew up in the city. She knew everyone in the city. She was helping people in public.
See, that's another thing. This isn't just a person you met. It's somebody who has family. Maybe they have sons or daughters. Maybe they are a son or daughter. When you snuff out somebody's life, it has long range ramifications. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable that a human being could do that to another human being, but it happens all the time. And unfortunately, it happens a lot with people who claim to have authority. Yeah, I'm never going to see that apology. High Desert Biker.
Housing who had disabilities that morning, the morning she was killed by Officer Hernandez.
So we heard from the family's attorney there, about why Gomez was at that housing complex that morning. She says that Gomez was there to help people. It was 4 a.m, so there were some questions about what was really happening there.
Yeah, the timing is interesting. So in the body cam video, she clearly tells Officer Hernandez she was visiting a friend. Now, the officer said visitors aren't allowed at that particular complex at that hour. He also then recognizes the passenger in the vehicle is a man named Jesus Garcia. He tells Garcia that he knows for a fact Garcia is not supposed to be at that particular complex based on a judge's order. The DA's conclusion, though, was basically regardless of why they were there at the complex in the first place, they were not presenting any sort of clear and present danger to the public, and especially not to the officers.
Yeah, people can see it for themselves in that video. Okay, Trevor, thank you.
Yeah, people can see it for themselves in that video. It doesn't take an expert, a ballistics expert, or an aggression expert, or a psychologist to look and see what happened was absolutely wrong. So what do we got here? What else we got? I think that's pretty much it. 55 minutes. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and stay under an hour. Next time I'll try to get the phone line fired up so we can have some good dialogue, some good discussion. See what you guys are saying here in the chat. If you guys like these videos, share them, become a member, grab a shirt. I got a gazillion shirts in the store. There's like 110 shirts in the store. The links are in the description. If you want to donate to Cash App or whatever. But back to Craig here. He definitely needs help. Where is that? Right here. Here's his Cash App. There's his PayPal. He's going to need some extra cash to litigate this thing. And I don't see the people in this town playing softball with him. They're going to continue to play hardball because, once something like this goes down and a judge gives this order and then you violate this probationary sanction that was imposed against you, well, their egos won't let go. They just won't. And it usually ends up getting worse and worse. So I'll leave. Here's the link to Craig's video. Help him out. If we all get together and, chip in $5, there's 300 and something people in here. $5, it'd be 5 times 300 is $1,500 that he could get right now. And, that would definitely go a long way in helping him out. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you First Amendment auditors that put basically your neck on the chopping block so that we can have some freedom in this world. And you have you have enough balls to stand up against the tyrants who are trying to take away our rights. And that means everything. Because if you don't stand for your rights, you will lose them. I will see you guys in the next live stream. If you like this video, share it and subscribe. Take care.